Hi, as Scott said, this is On My Nightstand, and I am Laura Cathcart-Robbins. And today I'm reading a piece by a dear friend of mine that I've never met in person, named Lelia Gowland. Now that we're all virtual, people understand how that works, but she and I met virtually before virtual was really a thing. Lelia, she has on her site that it rhymes with Amelia. She is a writer. She writes for like Forbes and Bazaar, NBC News. She wrote a book on negotiation called You Got This, The Ultimate Negotiation Guide for Professional Women. She's a master negotiator. I always contact her when I need to negotiate something. She's a public speaker, and she's just a general badass. She hails from the New Orleans area. And she has a newsletter that I read every week. It's fantastic. And one of her newsletters caught my eye a couple weeks ago, and contacted her to see if I could read it to you all. It's called I'm Coming Out. And there's a little music note by it. So you have to imagine the Diana Ross version. I'm Coming Out. Hi, Laura, it says. Recently, a friend asked when it was that I fully accepted my sexual orientation. I immediately noticed an oh shit sensation, a wave of nausea and constriction in my throat. I realized I, parenthetically, still hadn't. For years, I defined myself as a whatever, based on this 2013 Modern Love essay by Maria Bello. I felt seen as she wrote about her fluid sexual orientation. Thrilled to see her description of a healthy family that was deeply grounded in love, but didn't look the way you might expect. I've always said that I don't have a type. In years prior to reading Bello's essay, I'd been in relationships with a gorgeous woman in film, a sexy man in urban planning who's transgender, and a hyper-masculine FBI agent with arm muscles the size of my thighs. Defining myself as whatever felt like I was living beyond categories, like I wasn't letting terminology define my sense of self. It was akin to the scene in Schitt's Creek, where David explains his sexuality by saying, I like the wine, not the label. But my friend's question helped me realize that avoiding labels, for me, was a form of hiding. I felt myself undeserving of the label queer. I present as super straight, married to the delightful cisgender man who is also the father of my child. For too long, I wondered whether I could claim this identity without having suffered for it. I treated hardship as a sign of worthiness, all the while being in the closet had brought its own kind of suffering. When I was development director for a nonprofit, a funder that prioritized diversity, asked how many members of the staff identified as LGBTQ+, I sincerely asked my openly queer colleague if I was queer enough to count. I felt I needed permission. The people I worked with had met my male fiancé, Cole, but most of them didn't know that my beloved girlfriend existed. That's the other piece of my identity that kept me in the closet. I'm polyamorous, or poly for short. For me, that means that my husband and I share a lifelong commitment to one another and to our family. We also date other people. When Cole and I started this journey, we were the only people we knew striving to balance commitment and openness in our relationship. For many of our friends and family, polyamory was a totally new concept. They'd say, I could never do that, or I'd get too jealous. I'll use the pizza metaphor to explain how the conversations usually went. Me. Cole and I are going out for pizza on Thursday night. Friend. Oh my God, I could never eat pizza. Me. That's cool. I was just saying that we like it. Friend. I'm lactose intolerant. Me. Wait, what? I didn't invite you. It seemed like Cole and Mai's relationship model was a threat or indictment of theirs. Nope. We just like pizza. These days, Cole and I are out as poly to most people we interact with. While some friends and family still express apprehension, the reaction is different than it used to be. One friend recently told me, everyone I know is doing some form of ethical non-monogamy, E&M in tender speak. I feel like the weird one for wanting monogamy. While we've closed the relationship at various points to focus on family or career, I wouldn't have gotten married if the commitment came with an expectation of lifelong monogamy. Cole says he might have, but would likely have been miserable. The poly lifestyle works beautifully for us. But 11 years into this life-affirming, stable poly relationship, I've only recently realized just how closeted I've been. For years, I've negotiated with myself, feeling safer in the more progressive neighborhoods in New Orleans. I'd reason, I can be out in Bywater, but not in the Garden District. I told Cole, maybe you can be on a poly dating app, but not on Tinder. It's too public. I felt nervous holding my girlfriend's hand in public. The sheer amount of energy it takes to hide or conform is exhausting. Even though it's safe-ish for me to come out to y'all, my beloved newsletter community, I've written and rewritten past essays to ensure that I don't sound queer or like I'm dating someone other than my husband. That energy I could have spent writing or making the content itself stronger instead of strategizing about how to hide. I could have used that energy on literally anything else, like watching the Great British Bake Off or staring at clouds in the damn sky, anything other than spiraling in shame. My shame confuses me. I've been advocating on behalf of LGBTQ plus communities since 2002 when I wrote an essay for my high school paper admonishing my classmates for saying "that's so gay." In college, I marched in pride parades and led trainings to help educators better support queer and trans students. And the nonprofit I worked for, the one where I wasn't sure whether or not I counted as queer, did I mention it was focused in part on LGBTQ plus rights? Shaking my head. How could I celebrate these identities in others but struggle to accept them within myself? Now I recognize all of the internalized queerphobia and polyphobia I needed to work through. When I first decided to come out to y'all, a set of 3 lines kept popping into my head with some frequency. Don't share, keep hiding, stay safe. Even with boatloads of privilege coming from a place of financial security and independence, sharing this feels risky as hell. My coach asked whether staying in the closet felt constrictive or expansive. Immediately my answer was clear. Hiding is constrictive. I've been choking on this. As hateful anti-trans and anti-gay bills emerge in state legislatures across the country, including here in Louisiana, I feel an urgency and a responsibility to share my truth. When that wave of nausea hit me after my friend asked about accepting my sexuality, I knew that it was time. I'm done hiding. A reader recently told me, your writing is an antidote to shame. Perhaps sharing my identities and my continuous efforts to embrace them will help some of you feel seen and supported. This essay is for all of us who have navigated an invisible identity, for all of us who've wondered if we counted, who haven't felt seen. It's for all of us who felt that we needed to hide part of ourselves, for all of us who are still grappling with our identities or feel unsafe being our full selves. Writing this essay has helped me move through some of my own residual shame, and sharing it with y'all, I want to say, I'm here, I see you, I love you, and I'm extending that love to myself as well. Big exhales and lots of love, Lelia.